Let's drill. We're going to stretch our little pinky on the right-hand side to the final D. Final D, final D, final D, final D, final T, final T, final T, final T, final D, final T, final D, final T, final D, final T, final D. And I know you can write these words, so let's do it. Sad and sod, sad and sod. Toggle between sad and sod. And how about side and tide, side and tide. Toggle back and forth between those. Write them as accurately and as quickly as you can. Side and tide. And let's try tad and toad. Toggle between tad and toad. Tad, toad. Now we have a triplet with the initial K and the final D with the different vowels. So we have cad, cod, and code. So let's try toggling between cad and cod. Cad, cod, cad, cod. And cod, code, back and forth between cod and code. And then lastly, we have cad and code, cad, code, cad, code. All right, our next triplet is pad, pod, and paid. Pad, pod, toggle between pad and pod, pad and pod. And then toggle between pod and paid. Pod, paid, write it as frequently as you can. Pod, paid. And then pad and paid. Pad, paid. Pad, paid. Okay, next triplet. Wed, weed, and wood. So let's toggle between wed and weed. Wed, weed, wed, weed. And then toggle between weed and wood. Weed, wood, weed, wood. Don't forget to use your double O, weed and wood. And lastly, wood and wed, wood, wed, wood, wed. Toggle between those. Okay, our next grouping. Head, I banged my head, and heed, I need to heed her advice. Head, heed, head, heed, head, heed. Then try hid and hide. Hid, hide, hid, hide, hid, hide. And don't forget your double O's and write the word hood. Hood, hood. Now let's try them all together. Head, heed, hid, hide, hood, head, hid, hide, hood, heed. All right, let's move to our next grouping. Dead and deed, dead and deed, dead, deed, dead, deed. Toggle between those, dead and deed. And we have dud and dude, dud and dude. Don't forget your long U in dude. Dead, dude, dud, deed, dead, deed, dud, dude, and dad. Let's not forget him, dad. Let's try them all together. Dead, deed, dud, dude, dad. And the next group is your initial G and final D. So how about gad and good? Gad and good. Again, use your double O in good. Gad and good. And how about God and goad? God and goad. Neptune was an ancient god. And goad, I'd like to goad you into practicing as much as possible. God and goad. And then we have the word guide with a long I, guide. Let's try them all. Gad, good, God, goad, guide, gad, good, God, goad, guide. All right, our next grouping, lad and laid. He laid his keys on the table. Lad and laid. Lad and laid. How about led and lead? I led him away. I will lead him away. Led and lead. Led and lead. And lastly, lid and load. Lid and load. Toggle back and forth between those. All right, let's try them all together. Lad, laid, led, lead, lid, load, lad, laid, led, lead, lid, load. All right, the next word grouping is going to be with the initial B and final D. Bed and bead. Bed and bead. Bed, bead. All right, let's try bid and bide. Toggle between bid and bide. Write them as accurately and frequently as you can. Bid and bide. And bad and bud. Bad and bud. Bad, bud. All right, let's try them all together. Bed, bead, bid, bide, bad, bud. Bed, bead, bid, bide, bad, bud. All right, and our last grouping, red. That was her favorite color, red. Reed. She had a reed of grass. Red and reed. Red, reed. Short E, long E. Red, reed. Toggle back and forth between those. And rid and ride. Short I, long I. Write those as frequently and as accurately as you can. Rid, ride. Next, toggle between rod and road. The fishing rod and the road along the highway. Rod and road. Rod, short O, road, long O. And our last pairing, raid and rude. Raid and rude. Toggle back and forth between raid and rude as frequently and as accurately as you can. All right, let's try them all. Red, read, rid, ride, rod, road, raid, rude. Good job.